Chapter 5. The Linden clan's authority rested in the hands of the grandmother, and she favored William the most. Moreover, William's development is pretty decent. He has at least 30 million worth of assets. Any offense toward him would surely not end well. "Mom, what are you doing?" asked Lily as she walked over and held her mother back. Even though she detested Daryl, it was him that had gotten her out of her predicament. Daryl covered his face. The red slap mark on his cheek was strongly visible. However, he had a small smile on his face. After 3 whole years, this was the first time Lily spoke on his behalf. Daryl simply turned and left with a smile on his face.
"Get your ass back here, you piece of trash!"
Although it was quite a distance, Daryl could still hear Samantha's shouts. As the crowd watched the spectacle unfold, an aged voice could be heard from not far away. "What's with all the commotion?" Grandma Linden asked as she walked onto the stage. The originally bustling hall fell silent upon the sight of her. All right. No need for such formalities. Take a seat." Grandmother Linden waved her hand, and under the support of some people, slowly sat down on her chair. "According to my reliable sources, Donghai City's Platinum Corporation will have a new president tomorrow." Whoa! The matter sparked a heated discussion among the crowd. The Linden clan had over 10 advertising companies under them. In recent years, the Lindens were keen for the partnership between them and Platinum Corporation, for they were Donghai City's largest entertainment company. A partnership with them would give the Lindens steady profits without loss. However, backing the Platinum Corporation was none other than the Darby clan, who have always looked down on the Lindens. Every single mention of a partnership had been rejected by them. With the arrival of a new president, the Lindens had to give it a shot, hoping for a partnership. "Who's willing to discuss the partnership?" Grandmother Linden asked slowly as she looked around the hall. "Whoever that can successfully negotiate and secure the partnership would be considered making a huge contribution to our clan." "I'll go." "Granny, I'll go." "I'm willing as well." All of them were vying for that role, except for Lily. She knew that deep down, her standing in the clan was relatively low. Upon seeing how enthusiastic they were, Grandmother Linden nodded her head in praise and smiled. She pointed at William and said, "William, why don't you go over there tomorrow and give it a try?" William let out a wide-eyed smile and nodded excitedly. Daryl left alone and took a cab back home to sleep. He had to make up for the lack of sleep last night from the excitement of discovering that he had made a fortune. Daryl slept especially sound that night. The very next morning, he left for Platinum Corporation on his scooter right after preparing breakfast. Uncle Drake had already told him that Pearl Han, the secretary, would be at the company waiting for him. Platinum Corporation was situated in the bustling central business district of Donghai City. At the entrance of the company parked a row of luxurious cars, and quite a number of them belonged to the celebrities signed under the company. It was company policy that every celebrity had to report to the company every day. If there was an emergency, they had to apply for leave. Therefore, paparazzi frequently hang around the building, hoping to snap some celebrities' photos and sell them for a profit. If they managed to capture anything gossipy or scandalous, they would be able to make a huge profit. Damn, riding this scooter here surely seems uncouth. I should get a car, thought Daryl as he parked his scooter at the company's entrance. Suddenly came the roar of an engine, followed by a bang that nearly sent Daryl flying. Daryl turned around and saw that a Porsche Cayenne had knocked his scooter. The Porsche was barely scratched, but the back of his scooter was completely dented. "Son of a bitch! My newly bought scooter broke again?" thought Daryl as he felt like weeping but had no tears. He noticed a crowd starting to form around him, judging and watching the commotion. "Do you know how to drive?" said a beautiful lady as she stepped out of the car. "Wow." Sounds of exclamation came from the crowd. The appearance of this woman drew all their attention. She was wearing a sheath dress and a pair of high heels. Her figure was alluring and toned. A woman like her would surely be the focal point wherever she went. "Giselle?" Daryl exclaimed. Giselle was here to sign her contract. Daryl smiled. Although she crashed into him and broke his scooter, it was a good thing that none of them were injured. He did not want to pursue this matter further and was about to walk over to greet Giselle when she saw that it was him. "You, Daryl, what are you doing here?" Giselle furrowed her eyebrows and thought that Daryl must be a security guard at Platinum Corporation. "Are you blind? Do you even know how to drive?" said Giselle, full of spite. Her car was only 1 week old. Although it was only a minor scratch, she felt hurt for it. "But you're the one that knocked into me," said Daryl helplessly. "Why are you blaming me for it?"
"What's going on here?"
Suddenly came the voice of a middle-aged man. He was the head of security, who had brought his guards with him to the scene. The head of security was shocked to see what had happened. A crash between a scooter and a Porsche? He deduced that this beautiful lady was a celebrity, here to sign a contract. She must not be offended at any cost. At the thought of that, the head of security pointed at Daryl and shouted,
"What do you think you're doing? Don't you know the Platinum Corporation bans the entry of scooters into the premises?"
"There's such a rule. Who made it?" asked Daryl coldly.
"Who made it? I made it!"
The head of security stepped forward.
"Apologize to this lady immediately."
Upon hearing what the head of security said, Giselle smirked and pointed at Daryl. "He must be the new security guard?" The head of security was stunned and took a good look at Daryl. He was dressed in bargain goods and rode in on a scooter. He must be here to apply for the position of a security guard.
"Don't worry, miss. I won't be hiring him,"
the head of security assured as he patted his chest. He looked back at Daryl and said,
"Today is your first day on the job? Then let me declare that you're fired."
This was not a healthy general practice for the company. Daryl shook his head. The head of security was such a mean snob. "I would like to see you try to fire me," said Daryl slowly with a grin. "Do you even have the authority to fire someone?"
"You?"
The head of security pointed at Daryl. Surely this punk was mad. Indeed, the head of security has no authority to fire anyone, but if Daryl was here to apply for the position of a security guard, as the head of security, he would not be giving him a good time. "Daryl, you're such a disgusting person," said Giselle as she stomped her heels toward Daryl, eyeing him with contempt. "If the head of security can't fire you, then surely the deputy manager would be able to?" After finishing her words, Giselle took out her cell phone and sent a text message. Within moments, a lady dressed in business attire came walking out of the company building. This lady was attractive, and her height was roughly 165 centimeters and over 30 years of age. She was dressed in business attire and wore black high-heel shoes, accentuating her femininity and maturity.
"Miss Peach!"
Upon seeing the business lady's arrival, all the employees and security guards bowed and greeted her, one after another. This lady was Platinum Corporation's deputy manager, Penelope Peach. "Aunt Penelope," said Giselle as she stepped forward to greet Penelope. It was because Penelope was Giselle's aunt, and through her connections as deputy manager, got Giselle a contract with Platinum Corporation. Penelope nodded her head in acknowledgement and turned her attention to Daryl and said, "Apologize to Giselle." "What?" Daryl felt that was a funny moment. He asked, "Why do I have to apologize? Who are you?" "This guy must have hit himself on the head. Can't even recognize the deputy manager," whispered some of the employees. "Yeah, is he looking for trouble by not apologizing?" Penelope stared at Daryl with cold eyes and frowned. "You're here to apply for the position of a security guard, yes? Who hired you for this job? It doesn't matter. Since you're not willing to apologize, as deputy manager, I hereby inform you that you're fired. Get your scooter and get lost. Me? Get lost? Daryl pointed at himself and laughed. Are you deaf? Can't you understand? Giselle said coldly through her teeth. I'll take it as my unlucky day to meet a fly like you. Even though you scratched my car, I won't ask you for compensation. Get out of my sight immediately. Bloop, bloop, bloop. At that moment came the honking of a Bentley, which stopped in front of the crowd. A girl looking slightly more than 20 years of age, wearing a black business suit and glasses, came out of the car. President, I'm so sorry I'm late, said Miss Pearl, the secretary, as she hastily walked to the front of Daryl and did a 90-degree bow. Chapter 6. Daryl glanced at Pearl. If he was not mistaken, she should be the secretary his uncle mentioned about. Sorry, President, I didn't mean to be late. There was a traffic jam, Pearl explained softly, afraid to look Daryl in the eye, and merely bowed. Pearl, what nonsense are you talking about? Penelope stepped forward. Her beautiful appearance was slightly tinged with anger. This is our company's new security guard. Why are you addressing him as president? Security guard? Pearl searched inside her handbag and took out a photo. She compared the photo with Daryl and hurriedly replied Penelope, Miss Peach, there is no mistake. This is our company's new president, Mr. Darby. What? The crowd stood there with their mouths agape and stared at Daryl in disbelief. Miss, you have to be mistaken. Giselle bit her lip tightly and looked at Pearl. This guy is Daryl. He was my classmate in high school. Look at how uncouth he is. How could he be the president? How is this possible? Why would a president be wearing bargain goods and riding an electric bike? Moreover, during the very recent high school reunion, none of them cared to acknowledge Daryl. Mistaken? Pearl took out her cell phone and showed it to Giselle. Look closely. The patriarch of the Darby clan personally told me that the name of the new president is Daryl Darby. There is also a photo of the president shared in the conversation records. See for yourself. Whoosh. Giselle's mind went blank in an instant. She could feel her legs weakened. She dared not look Daryl in the eye anymore. Meanwhile, Penelope bit her lip tightly as well. As the deputy manager of Platinum Corporation, she was of a higher rank than many of the common employees. However, Platinum Corporation still belonged to the Darby clan. She could not believe that just moments ago she had threatened to fire the president. Mr. Daryl. Penelope's face was pallor. She walked up to Daryl and whispered to him gently. I don't think that's the right address, chuckled Daryl. Giselle was my classmate, and you're her aunt. I don't think it's fitting for you to call me Mr. Mr. Daryl, I was wrong. I truly know that I did wrong, said Penelope softly with her head lowered. Daryl waved his hand and interrupted her words. He turned around and looked in the direction of the head of security. At that moment, the head of security was dumbfounded. His body staggered back, almost falling onto the ground. You're fired. Daryl merely said those words to him and entered the building. A group of people followed Daryl with might, which prompted discussion among the employees at the ground floor level. Giselle and Penelope followed suit as well, but with a sense of humility. Although it was hard for them to walk on heels, they still trotted as fast as they could to follow close. It has to be said, Platinum Corporation was extremely grand. Its interior was decorated to resemble a palace. News regarding the new president's arrival spread across the entire company. Employees along the way bowed and greeted Daryl. The president's office was on the 11th floor. Daryl sat in his chair when he arrived at his office. How fancy, thought Daryl in admiration. Ever since he was banished from his clan 3 years ago, he never had the opportunity to visit such fancy places. President. Giselle and Penelope followed him into his office and stood obediently in front of his desk. To be fair, although Penelope was Giselle's aunt, she had gone to great lengths to take good care of her appearance. They looked like sisters standing side by side.
Mr. Daryl, I sincerely apologize.
Penelope bit her lip, hesitated for a moment before she continued.
Mr. Daryl, will Giselle still be able to sign her contract with our company? As long as you allow her the contract, I'll do anything you ask.
Anything I ask? Daryl laughed out loud. As he was about to speak, Pearl knocked on the door and walked in.
Mr. Darby, it's William of the Linden clan. He's here to talk business.
William Linden. The mere mention of him made Daryl's blood boil. Daryl chuckled. Tell him to piss off.
Yes, sir.
At the Linden clan's villa, Grandmother Linden called upon an emergency meeting. Hundreds of family members were gathered around.
Granny, this Platinum Corporation is too ridiculous.
William was so angry that his face was bright red.
I went there to discuss a partnership and they told me to piss off. Piss off! Clearly Platinum Corporation looks down on us Lindens.
The Lindens shook their heads one after another. There was nothing they could do. Platinum Corporation has the power to behave in that manner. They were angry, but they could not complain.
Enough,
Grandma Linden said as she waved her hand.
I've heard the Platinum Corporation's new president is just slightly over 20 years old. He is young and promising, which gives him the right to be reckless. Although they have a bad attitude, we Lindens still have to continue to strike a deal with them. Who among you is willing to go?
What? They looked at each other in shock. The Lindens still intend to discuss and negotiate a partnership? Platinum Corporation had already told William to piss off, and yet they are still requested to seek their cooperation? Who would be willing to do that? Grandmother Linden let out a long sigh. She knew that no one was shameless enough to go there again. However, if they could form a partnership with Platinum Corporation, the benefits brought to the Linden clan would be immense. They cannot give up. William clenched his fists and sneered out of a sudden. He stood up and spoke.
Granny, how about we let Lily try?
William, you? Lily bit her lip tightly. She knew that William was the type to cause trouble, but she did not expect him to be such a wicked person.
What's wrong?
William asked.
You're a member of the Linden clan, and the company you're in charge of lacks a funding of $5 million, right? Let's ignore the fact that the company is running badly. You're still not willing to put in this effort to help your clan?
Finishing his words, William went to Grandmother Linden's side.
Granny, I suggest Lily negotiate this partnership.
Grandmother Linden nodded her head. William was her favorite in the clan, and upon hearing his words, she looked at Lily.
Lilybud, this matter is placed in your hands. Go to Platinum Corporation on time tomorrow and negotiate a partnership.
Granny, Lily wanted to speak, but Grandmother Linden merely waved her hand.
That's enough. We will dismiss the meeting.
At the end of Grandmother Linden's words, hundreds of them left, one after another. Each of them rejoiced at the fact that they were not the one that was chosen. Returning home, Lily felt uneasy in her heart. This was an impossible task. How was she supposed to negotiate this partnership tomorrow? Lily felt terribly upset. She simply did not want to think about this matter anymore. She called her best friends, Jade and Phoebe, over to vent. When Lily's best friends arrived, sure enough, her mood turned ecstatic.
Lily, where's that piece of trash?
Jade asked as she sat on the sofa, gently sipping on her glass of wine. Lily knew who Jade was referring to and laughed.
He left after making breakfast. He hasn't been back yet.
Lily, you're so patient.
Jade placed her wineglass down.
Even I could not bear how hopeless he looked. Your company is lacking in funds. If you had a capable husband, even if he couldn't fork out $5 million, at least he could provide $2 or $3 million. Meanwhile, Daryl can't even provide $30,000.
As Jade was talking, the sound of the door opening could be heard. Daryl came in holding a black sack, his whole body covered in dirt and grime. Damn it, it started raining when Daryl was on the way back from his company. His scooter was broken earlier this morning when it was knocked by Giselle, so he had to walk back drenched in the rain.
Yo, speaking of the devil,
said Jade as she glanced at Daryl. Daryl could not bother to acknowledge her. Instead, he just placed the black sack on the sofa.
Daryl, you still dare to show your face around here?
Said Samantha as she came out of her bedroom, looking angry. If it was not for Daryl's conflict with William, why would William suggest Lily to be the one to negotiate the deal? Samantha glared at Daryl.
You're behaving more and more improper. Putting aside your conflict with William during yesterday's gathering, you still dare to show your face around here? Don't you know that you're leaving your footprints everywhere in the house by wearing your shoes inside? Another thing, that ugly bag of yours is so dirty, and you just place it on the sofa? Do you still want to live here or not? You're welcome to leave if you don't want to.
Daryl heaved a deep breath. Indeed, he was the one that dirtied the house. But was he also not the one responsible for cleaning up the house all these years? Daryl was not angry, for if he minded Samantha's words, he would have been driven mad way earlier. Daryl put on an indifferent attitude and approached Lily, and spoke to her with a wide smile on his face. Honey, your company is in dire need of $5 million, right? I have here...
Whoa!
Jade, who sat at the table, let out a laugh, interrupting Daryl's words, and glared at him.
This guy is truly shameless beyond redemption. Never mind the fact that you're useless, yet you still want to remind people of their problems. Lily needs $5 million, which is something a piece of trash like you can never help with, and yet you still brought it up.